Hello and welcome to the Tracy Sandler Show, brought to you by FIVO. I am your host, Tracy Sandler, and I don't think I could be more excited about having anybody on the show today.
I actually think you can be more excited.
I don't think I could be more excited.
I'm just saying, you don't sound that excited to me. So
I don't think I could be more excited to have anyone on the show today than the guest that I have, the amazing, spectacular, and really one of my most favorite humans in the world in every way, the Athletics' Marcus Thompson. Welcome back to the show, Marcus.
See, that was more exciting. See, you were more excited. There you go.
I was. I just don't
and
think.
Also, I might add, I feel like that's what I deserve. That's all I'm saying.
That's true. It is what you deserve. But like in all honesty, I can't think of a guest who I could have on that I'd be more excited about, except maybe Shohei Ohtani.
That is cap.
Okay, definitely Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, I can name 20.
And like Mookie Betts.
Anybody from Michigan.
Oh, yeah, that's true. It's a good point. JJ McCarthy, Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Mike Samerstill.
Any Dodger, anybody from Michigan.
Okay, so there is a select group of people that I would be more excited about.
Well, that group is like 5,000 Michigan grads.
No, just the guys.
Desmond Howard.
Oh, yeah, that was cool too. Yeah, fair. Okay, team 144 and them. And the Dodgers. But so, well, I'm glad that we got that settled, because now I have to work to get Shohei Ohtani on my podcast so I can tell him that I am so excited to have him, but almost as excited as I was to have Marcus Thompson.
How excited would you be after that, man? You'd be so excited that we wouldn't be able to see your excitement. You'd play it cool. You'd be so excited. You'd be
that's
like,
probably true. Yeah, you're right. I would have had to play. I don't even know though. I don't know if I could play it cool. If he brought his dog on with him, it's over.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Bring them on after they lose the World Series.
First of all, rude. You are a guest on my show. They are not going to lose the World Series.
Put my feet on your couch.
What'd you say?
Put my feet on your couch. My feet are on your couch.
They are not going to lose the World Series. You also told me last year Michigan was going to lose to Ohio State and lose the national championship, and you were wrong about both.
And they're going to lose. They're going to lose this year too.
Well, this year you'd be right.
That's what I meant. I meant this year.
Okay, but that's not what you said. So there's that. But I didn't bring you on the show to talk about this, though I'm down to talk about this for the entire rest of the show. I did bring you on the show. Listen, wait till you get this segue, okay? Because the 49ers are playing a different team that wears blue on Sunday night. Bam. It wasn't that good a segue.
Oh, that was the segue. Oh, my fault. I missed it.
That was the segue. I thought it was really good when I thought about it, and then when I actually said it, it wasn't as good. But Marcus.
But their owner never dodges the media. Get it?
I get it. Look what you did.
Their owner is not a Dodger.
Their owner is
probably should be a Dodger, but
he should not be a Dodger. Oh, from the media.
The media.
But
from the media perspective, he shouldn't be a Dodger, but for his own reputation, he should probably dodge the media.
Yes, I think that's probably true. But at this point, the ship has sailed on that. But we were at Levi Stadium this last Sunday. The 49ers played awful. Everyone played awful. It was not a good game, and they lost.
First off, I was great, but also Mustafa was really good.
Okay, you're right. And it's funny, as I was saying that, I was like, well, actually, I take that back as Mustafa. So you and Mustafa were fantastic on Sunday. I think I actually was pretty good Sunday too. I
think you were pretty good, actually. I think you were pretty good.
I had good content come out of the day. I liked my tweets. I liked my game story. I'm going to give me and Malik Mustafa our flowers for Sunday. But now the Cowboys come to town. They are worse than the 49ers, so they have a lot of talent on the team. Should be noted that Micah Parsons didn't practice on Wednesday. So if they're still without Micah Parsons, I think it becomes a much different story. But whoever they play on Sunday, Marcus, can this team turn itself around?
Of course they can, and they will.
Do you think they will? I love that energy. Okay.
I don't think. Well, it's first off, it's a lack of confidence in the Cowboys.
Well, I think they'll beat the Cowboys. I agree with you. The Cowboys, I had Eric Branch on the show earlier this week, and he referred to the Cowboys as a minor league football team. And I would agree with that assessment.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah.
But
in fairness, though, the 49ers have lost to a couple minor league teams already. So
yes, they have. Yes, they have.
And to bring it to the basketball part of my career, Greg Popovich, the legendary San Antonio Spurs coach, always brings up this thing called appropriate fear. It's like no matter what, you need to have an appropriate fear of your opponent. I think Dallas is good enough for them to have an appropriate fear, and they should respond in that way. I think the problem with the Rams and the Cardinals is they thought, we're going to win anyway, so who's tripping? And they're I don't know. I expected it this week. I expected it the previous week, and we saw it in Seattle. I mean, I think I was saying I thought they were going to win against Kansas City. Then I think it was you who were telling me they weren't. And I thought about it. I was like, yeah, it makes sense that they'd lose to Kansas City, even though I thought this would be the time they beat Kansas City, right? When it doesn't actually matter. But right. Kansas City, I mean, they've got
much team.
Absolutely, yeah. But Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, right? That's what he does. So to me, this only continues the difficulty. I think they'll turn it around because they're just too good to be losing like this. And I just think they'll turn around. But I do think in the end they pay a price for this. They pay a price for having to dig deep so early in the season, right? Like, and even if they end up like 12-5 or whatever, they're going to pay a price. Maybe the price is going to Detroit for the NFC Championship game if they make it, but it's probably going to be running out of gas after a 5th straight long playoff run in 6 years, and that stuff catches up with you. It look like it's already catching up to them now.
Well, and in 2021 and 2022, which, we all point to, and they started 3-4, they started 3-5, they went on these runs, they made the playoffs. But as you said, they did pay a price. So in 2021, they then have to fly to Green Bay they fly to Dallas the first weekend, Green Bay the second weekend, and then NFC Championship game in LA, not a long flight, but by then they were a Jaquaski Tart holding onto the ball away, away from going, but they did run out of gas. In 2022, they did have the 2 home games, but then they have to fly to Philadelphia for the NFC Championship. And of course, Brock Purdy gets hurt and all of that, but they do end up paying a price. And I think even Detroit for the NFC Championship game is even a step further, because I'm thinking, like, if they have to go to Minneapolis for a divisional round game,
that's a good point.
Just can't win. Like, they're not. I don't think they're going to make the NFC Championship game. So I agree with you. They will probably pay a price, but we'll talk a little bit more about the Cowboys in a minute. But in theory, after the bye week, Christian McCaffrey comes back. He's not going to fix everything, but he will help. He was in the locker room today shooting some hoops. He wasn't like jumping, but he kind of went up on his feet a little bit. So that seems promising. Or on Wednesday. We're recording this on Wednesday.
It's the little things, Tracy. It's the little things.
It's the little things. Well, for people who thought maybe there'd be no Christian McCaffrey this year, I think that is it is helpful. Deebo Samuel was back on Wednesday. He was doing some conditioning on the side after he'd been in the hospital with pneumonia. So that would be good for this Sunday. But if you look past the bye, and let's say they do get Christian McCaffrey back, maybe not right after the bye, but soon after the bye. And then they get Dre Greenlaw back, and Deebo is actually healthy, and Juwan Jennings is healthy. Things are certainly looking up, but they have a real uphill battle after the bye. After the bye week, they go to Tampa. I'm not saying the Bucs are amazing, but they go to Tampa, home game against Seattle, go to Green Bay, go to Buffalo. Yeah. Things get harder than they have been this first half of the season for them.
And you start thinking about players like, Fred Warner, who's just, I mean, these dudes are laying it on the line, the defensive line, who's like, especially the defense, where you're thinking about like how much they're on the field, how much they're in these do or die moments, right? And where you got to dig deep. I just think this year is not its own year, right? Like, this is an accumulation of a team that has been to the NFC Championship game like more times than anybody other than Patrick Mahomes, right? Like, they just they find themselves playing in January so often that You just got to wonder if it takes its toll. Now the I guess the blessing of this kind of rough period is a lot of guys are getting to play. A lot of rookies are
Yeah.
playing, and that will end up being, you know, could end up being beneficial down the stretch. Because if you do get some guys like tired or injuries or whatever, you feel good about some dudes who've already had some experience. The other thing I think they'll need, and this is kind of the fortuitousness of McCaffrey's injury, is even like if they go make a trade for somebody, now they need a receiver. You kind of
Mm-hmm.
need those jolts. You need something to say, all right, a little smelling salt for the season, right? Like give me something to pick me up, right? Just a little line or something. So like remember they struggled last year,
Mm-hmm.
uh traded for McCaffrey. Was that the year
No, 2
before?
years ago. That
Two
was
years
2 years
ago,
ago.
yeah. 2 years ago, traded for McCaffrey and went on this run, and he was like this massive jolt to the season. So I do think McCaffrey could be that in a sense, and they're in a position where they might have to do something, right? And maybe that's a little bit of what they need down the stretch. I'm just worried about that. Like I do think they'll turn it around. I think they'll run off 3 or 4 or 5 in a row because I do
Mm-hmm.
think them being good opponents like makes them play. Like they don't get to. There's not like Carolina and these
Right.
teams you sleep on. Like these teams that they're facing are good enough to make them play. And if they play, they should be pretty good generally. So I do think they'll turn it around, but I just wonder, like, what will they have if they got to go to Minnesota for, you know,
And in a place
like that's a good point. Yeah,
that
that's a
they
good point.
can't win. Minnesota kind of has their number in Minneapolis, like the Chiefs have their number everywhere.
Absolutely.
So, and now the 49ers have the Cowboys number, no matter where they are, at least recently. So it will be interesting. And I think, if they win Sunday night, I guess I'll put it this way. And I had posed this to Eric earlier this week too. And I'm just curious at everybody's different thoughts on this. The aggressiveness at the trade deadline, does the aggressiveness depend on winning or losing? Like, even if they lose, they'll do stuff at the trade deadline. But is that the difference between trying to get Max Crosby and trying to get just, a couple people to help out?
Nah, I mean, look, we know how this franchise rolls. They're trying to win a Super Bowl. So losing makes them even more desperate.
I guess
But
that's true.
winning puts them in the game. You know what I'm saying? Like you 4-4, it's like, we right there. So I think
Yeah,
either
and in a
way.
division that's not great. So
Absolutely. But so like to me, if you're in this situation and you lose and you're now with 3-5, either A, you like, we really need something to turn this
mhm,
around. Because I still don't think even if they lose, they'll think they're out of it. But even if they do think they're out of it, it's probably time to start thinking about what to do after this. Right? Like if these guys are
right.
done, now it's like, okay, you got to make some moves because you're gonna have to make some decisions about something. So if you can get a Max Crosby, right? If you can get a Cooper Cup, right? Like that's the type of stuff where you start thinking. I mean, I don't know about Cooper Cup, but just the idea of it, right? Where
The
it's
idea
like,
of it.
who are you? Like, how are you gonna reconfigure this team to get to compete again for the sixth championship if guys prove they can't do it? So to me, I think they still wait a little longer before they wave the white flag on their chances of doing it this year. But even if that's where they are, if they lost this, now you're even more incentivized to say, all right, what are we gonna do here? But also, if they win this game, which they probably will, because
I think
my
they'll win.
goodness, Dallas is terrible.
Dallas
Dallas
is
is
Dallas
terrible.
is terrible. And I mean, one of the reasons, well, I'm going to say two things. One, before they got McCaffrey, they were 3-4. McCaffrey's first game, they lose to the Kansas City
Yes.
Chiefs. So they're 3-5, and then they go on their run. But the other thing I was going to say, the reason I have a lot more confidence in them is, first of all, I do think they're better than they've been playing, but I also think they have a much better coach. So that already is going to give them an advantage against the Cowboys, who don't have, I don't want to be unkind, but he has not proven
Man, are you not?
great.
You just gonna disregard what Jerry Jones said? You just
What
gonna
did Jerry Jones
disregard?
say? What did he
Man, he
say?
said he good with his coach. Man, why would he fire his coach? He's good. Like he said it.
Okay, exactly. So, right.
His,
So yes,
his
I
coach
am
is
going to
fine.
disregard what Jerry Jones said.
You just gonna
I
act
am
like
going
he
to.
ain't say that? That's messed up,
Oh no,
man.
he
Jerry
said it.
Jones.
I'll acknowledge he said it. I'll respect his right to say it. He's wrong, but he did say it, and that's fine. Good for him for thinking that.
He's been wrong about this for a minute.
For
You know what else too? There's a very clear formula to beating the 49ers, actually. Like, you don't have to have you have to have it, right? So it's not like everybody has it, but if you got a quarterback who can hurt you outside the pocket but is really good in it, it's a problem. It's just a problem.
And it's been that way for years.
Yeah. And Dak just stays in the pocket. Those dudes who stay in the pocket, you're just food. You're food. Like, you gotta get Nick Bosa too far upfield. You gotta get, them to be so thirsty that they lose discipline, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, dudes who sit in the pocket just don't do that. Like, Dak has 75 yards run. Like, Purdy's hadn't got runs longer. And you know what I'm saying? Like, he's run for 25 years. Yeah, it's just like he just sits in the pocket. Yeah. You can't do that against the 49ers. Now you tell them, like, we have to have this game. And Bosa, especially for, like, his numbers aren't there, but he leads the league probably. And I was this close to getting the quarterback. Like, he's been right there so many times, and part of it is because guys like Kyler Murray are getting up out of there. Like, like Patrick Mahomes are like, I could smell you coming, Nick. I'm out of here, right? Dak's just going to sit there. And he's going to sit there. Dak's going to just sit there. He's going to sit there because his coach is going to let him sit there.
Yeah.
And I would be shocked if they lose this. If they lose this game, I'd say stick a fork in them. I don't think the 49ers would, but if you lose to the Cowboys.
Oh, I think so.
The way they're looking, that's all bad.
I would be shocked too. And I don't care if the Cowboys are coming off a bye. It doesn't matter to me. Like, it's just, I would be shocked and awed, frankly, if they lost this game.
Ooh, shocked and awed. Wow.
I'd be shocked and awed. I really would. Because I think
I don't know. I wouldn't be awed. I'd just be shocked. I wouldn't go that far. I'm not going that far. I wouldn't go awed.
You don't have to go that far. This is the beauty of having two people. I can be shocked and awed, and you can just be shocked. However, if they lose this game, I'm going to follow up with you on Sunday and ask you if you are indeed awed. Because it depends. If they lose, things will have had to have gone so wrong that you might be awed. So we'll see. I mean, so if we look to the game, they might have Debo back. Kyle Shanahan said that was a possibility, that he's doing better than you would think for someone who'd just been in the hospital with pneumonia. But on Wednesday, which is when we are recording this, of course, pay attention to X and Twitter to get up-to-date injury report information that we don't have yet when we're recording this. But you had no Juwan Jennings, you had no George Kittle, you had no Debo. I mean, you look at the wide receiver core, obviously no Brandon Ayuk, who officially went on AR on Wednesday. You looked at the wide receiver core, it looks very different than it did earlier in the season. But this is a chance for Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing to really make their mark, as you said earlier.
We just going to act like your guy don't exist? The Michigan guy,
and Ronnie Bell. I was focusing on the rookies. But it's also a good opportunity for Ronnie Bell.
Yeah, shout out your guy. Right with him. I think it's a good opportunity for Brock Purdy to show too. Yes. Like, that, number one, he was better than last week, but like, he can be effective without this, like, embarrassment of riches.
Yes,
and Kyle's got to get him there. Kyle's got to help him first off. Like, he's got to help him. You can't just, like, spin first and second down running into a wall at the line when the box is like 9 people in it. He's got to get more play action in there. He's got to get more design out of the pocket stuff for him. But Purdy's good, man. Like, dude is good. And they just kind of need him to be that now. It's not like before where, I mean, he was great and they scored 35, right? Now they need him to be good to get 25,
right?
And that's the difficulty. But I think dude is really good, man. And I think if he's on his A game, I think he's better than Dak Prescott.
Oh, he's definitely better than Dak Prescott.
And like, like you won't walk away from this game like, oh my God, Purdy had everything. Like this is the time where he can show it, and like he's coming off a poor performance, right? He's coming off.
Mhm.
Now, granted, the Chiefs' defense is why they're 6-0. The Chiefs' defense
Yeah,
and Patrick Mahomes, right? Like I
of
know
course.
everybody's looking at their receivers, how Kelsey's done nothing, but that defense is legitimate.
It
And
is.
like you saw how Spagnola just gives the 49ers fits, period. Like that's just
Mhm,
that's just how it is.
mhm.
So I don't know. I don't think that's gonna be this difficult
No.
this week. So I do feel like I think Purdy bounces back. I think he has a big game. I think he I think he turns into the cyclone dude who's just like, yo, man, let's just go out here and sling that thing. If Kyle lets him and stops running the ball into 9 people at the line on first and second down.
I
I'm
don't
sorry, did I
think
say that already? I think
you
I
did, but
think I
you
said
can
that
say, I
already.
think it's worth
I think
repeating.
I can say it again. Yeah, I think it's
You could say it 4 or 5 times. I mean, in fact, and I would imagine that Kyle Shanahan perhaps agrees with you. And we saw how Purdy responded when he had that game against the Ravens. It was a similar,
absolutely. Yeah.
it was a similar situation. And I think we will see him respond. I think the thing that's about Purdy is I know a lot of guys say, oh, I don't let the noise get to me and all that kind of stuff. But I really don't think he does. Like he had a bad game and now he's going to have a better game. And he's going
I
to,
think the noise in his head is louder than the noise outside. I think that's
100%.
part of
And
the
that's why
problem,
he's so
man.
good. I think
It's
that's why
also he gets in his way, though. I think that's part of what he's such
probably
a
true.
perfectionist that he's overthinking it, and he's like wants to do the thing that's he wants to make the play. I do think that's part of it, and you see him kind of forcing some throws like, yeah, I can do it, instead of just taking the check down. So to
Right.
me, I feel like that's a bigger, like he ain't thinking about what we saying, right? The bigger
No, it's what
concern is
he said.
what's going on in his own head.
And he said it best the other day. He just has to believe it, that he doesn't have to be Superman and put on a different cape. He just has to do his job. And I think if he believes that himself, he believes his own words.
Ah, man, I want Superman. Superman, Purdy, let's go. Go back to your Iowa State days where you put the team on your back. Forget that. Don't be deferring to these. Like, there's no superstars. There's no McCaffrey. Like, there's no like, oh, we just got all this talent. No, you don't. They're hurt.
They're all hurt. When Brandon Ayuk went down, I was like, this is just
It's kind
I
of
mean, this
wild.
team is on their third kicker. Like, this is a rough go. It's been a rough
And then,
go.
like, what was it? I think it was what was it, the Arizona game? It was one game. No, it might have been Seattle, where one guy was Jordan Mason was going off, and then he came back, and then like somebody else went off. It was like they're just like
Yes.
ships passing in the night. Like it's just
Yes.
like every time you think it's well he's coming back, he's fine. Somebody else is going like it's almost as if this thing kind of regresses to the mean. And last year not having these significant injuries, they're getting a double dose now. It's just it's actually kind of underrated. We're so used to this team being loaded
Mm-hmm.
and like that. It's like I think it's kind of being lost. Like this is kind of insane, the
Yeah,
amounts of injuries that's happening with this team.
but I think what you said is really interesting, what you said earlier. Well, I think everything you say is generally interesting, but specifically what you said earlier about this is accumulation of these seasons. And last year, no, they didn't have any major injuries. But by the time they got to the Super Bowl, they've been playing football a long time and everybody's dealing with something. And you're playing in mid-February or early to mid-February, and then you lose and you've lost. And that's the other thing that I
Like
think
and
takes its toll
heartbreaking too.
in a heartbreaking fashion. And that's the other thing that takes its toll. They play late in the season and then they've been losing. And I think that takes a toll as well. But that's less time for whatever guys we're dealing with, whether it was minor or bigger than anybody let on. That's less time for them to recover. It's less time to, get better. And they're dealing with the loss. And that was a bad loss. It feels like last year was their year. Now we'll see what happens. There's a lot of football left to play.
Oh
There's a lot.
wow! The CEO of Fangirl just say they were done? Is that what I heard?
I
You
didn't
said
think they
last year
were
was the
done. I
year?
just feel like last year was their year to win it, but they could prove me wrong. Maybe they'll use this as bulletin board material. Put this up. Be
Wow.
like,
I
Tracy
didn't think you
said,
was gonna go there, but you said shocked and awed, and now you're
I
saying they missed their moment. That's deep.
I don't know if they missed their
you
moment,
know
but
what?
I feel like their
Here we
best
go.
chance
I
at the
agree with
moment.
you.
Yeah, I know you do. I
I
think a
agree
lot
with
of
you.
people.
I'm gonna be out on this limb with you. I just think what they're doing is insanely hard, and I don't even think it's a knock on them. I literally
No, it's
don't
just
think it's incredibly hard what they're trying to do. That would be 3 straight NFC Championship games. Like that is hard to do. It's a toll, and the other part, like you were saying, how they're losing is crippling. It's debilitating, right?
it
Like
is.
they lost. I mean, first off, they lost the first Super Bowl with blowing a lead. They lose
Mhm.
Purdy in a NFC Championship game on a fluke injury, and they're playing like with Christian McCaffrey as quarterback and juice shake, right? Like just
Yeah,
ridiculousness. And then they
big
fight
mess.
all the way back and they lose in overtime on like you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
basically a coin toss. And then on top of that, I do think another thing is like their style of play is physicality, is brute force.
Mhm.
It's it's running dudes over. It's not a coincidence that the yak is down, right? Like it's
Right.
tough to keep doing that, to just be running people over and playing, George Kittle loves violence. Like they got those kind of guys. So I do think it's really hard what they're doing. And that's why losing these games is so difficult because they lose their room for error, right?
Right.
They're as good as any team in the league, but they lose their room for error to mess around, and
Mhm.
they're going to finding out. You know what I'm saying? Now, if
Mhm.
they're sitting, 5-2 at this point,
Mhm.
whole different thing,
Yeah.
like way different. All off 2 games that they give away. Just the Cardinals and the Rams. Like if
Mhm.
you take those, Minnesota you could question, but Minnesota turned out to be that don't look as bad. And of course, there's never any shame losing to Mahomes.
No.
Rams, Arizona, completely different paradigm for this whole season. We're talking about. We might even be talking about come week 14, like, hey, sit Fred out.
Right.
Like let's do some rest. Now it's all systems go. Like
All systems go. Definitely all systems go for the rest of the season. I think their bye week is coming at a very good time, but
massive, huge, yeah.
it is definitely they are lucky. They've had this bye the last few years, and they're I think have been lucky to keep getting it because it definitely comes at a good time. But yeah, we're gonna have to see how this one goes. But I
All right.
still would be shocked and odd if they lose to the Cowboys.
All right, I got a question for you then. I gotta ask you
Hit
this
me up.
question. This is a real, like, you know what I'm saying, journalism type question. And since
Hit me.
you think you've already said they're done, right?
I
And you
didn't
think they're gonna
exactly say
win.
it was done, but okay, it's not really
you
exactly
said
what I said.
you said their moment was last year. It's over.
I
Like
said
quit
I
playing.
thought last year was their year to win it, but that it doesn't mean they're
That's
done. I
basically
just think
that's basically the same thing. By the time I'm finished processing it through my brain, you said they were done. And then you'd be shocked and awed that if they lose, which means they're gonna win. So if
right,
you're
which is good.
me,
Okay.
so if you're me
Mhm.
on Sunday,
Mhm.
are you doing 49ers Cowboys or are you doing Warriors season opener with Steph Curry? Same time.
I think you're doing 49ers Cowboys.
No, I'm asking you what should I do?
I think you should do 49ers Cowboys.
Why? You just said it was over. You said they were done, and you said the outcome of the game is not actually in question. You will be shocked
I
and
didn't
awed.
say they were done. This is a pivotal game. I think this becomes a pivotal game for their season. I really do. This is a very
And they're gonna win by 40. How I'm gonna feel if they win by 40 and then Steph drops 50. And
you
you're
know
gonna
what
be like,
that's
well, I kind of told you they were gonna win, so I don't know why you chose
no,
this
I'm not
game.
going to say that. I'm going to be like, you asked me what I should do, and I told you what you should do. Now, you also know that you're asking me, and I'm going to be biased because I'd rather you
No,
be the
but I'm
49ers
talking about for
Cowboys.
me though. Like for me, what's the
I
best
know. I
game?
think for you, I think you want to be at the 49ers Cowboys game.
Where I want to be doesn't matter where I should be.
I
I
just think you
think
should, and
here's
I
what I
think
think.
you should be. I think you
I
should
think
be.
I think they're gonna blow them out. I think it's
Okay.
gonna be like at least 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
And the Clippers are playing without Kawhi and they ain't got nobody. And I think Steph might go crazy. So from a story perspective, I don't know, man. One of them is Wardell Stephen Curry the second, and the other is Mike McCarthy chokes again. Like, what are we talking here? Like,
Well, I think you know what I think the reality
am I,
is.
do you understand my dilemma here though?
I totally understand your dilemma. I think it's a tough dilemma. I think the Warriors
It's still
thing
49ers Cowboys though. It's
is still
49ers
49ers Cowboys, and
Cowboys.
it's still the home opener of the Warriors. Even
And
if
there's
Steph
like 40
does
more.
drop 50.
Yeah,
Exactly.
there's 40 more.
That's kind of my
I don't know. I'm
feeling.
gonna have a massive fan base like, bro, where are you? And I'm gonna be
One of
like,
the
yo, I
two.
gotta write this Diamador Lenore piece.
Well, Neil Lenore's having a very good season.
He's
What if
a
he has a pick
baller,
or
bruh. He's
two?
a baller. He's a
He is a
baller.
baller. So what if he has like 3? So let's pretend you do Warriors, and Diamador Lenore has like 3 pick sixes. And
Well, we don't want that to happen, because if that happens, there's going to be like a massive crowd in his locker room,
that's
and
true.
I'm not going to be able to. Like, I'm gonna have a recorder in his face and be like, "Yo, Tracy, can you send me that?" Like, but if Steph has 50, then I'm gonna get Steph to talk to me by myself.
This is a dilemma.
But it's 49ers Cowboys and it's the NFL.
So
Like,
I've given you where I think you should be. You are gonna have to make the decision, but I've given you where I
it's
think
actually not it's actually not completely up to me, but yeah,
right.
in the end, if I threw a big enough fit, I could probably get my way. But also, I'm part of a team. I got to do what's best for my team. You feel me? Some
I
of
do
us
too.
are Mustafa. So if I gotta meet the quarterback at the goal line with my feet not under me, and I gotta get run through by a dude with a mohawk, that's what I do.
That's what
You know what I'm saying?
I'd also
This is
like
what
to
I
see
do.
that. I actually like to see that exact scenario happen.
You see the hilarious part is people are posting the pictures of the two with the shirts off.
Yes. Yes.
It's like, it's hilarious.
Social media. It's a blessing and a curse.
The
Often a curse.
internet is undefeated. The internet is undefeated. It does not lose.
It does not. It does not. For better or worse, probably for worse. The internet
for worse, absolutely undefeated.
Does not lose. And so with that, the internet doesn't lose. And on Sunday, I think the 49ers don't lose. Boom. That was better than my blue segue.
That was way better than the blue one. That was way better than the blue.
Thank you. I'm just clapping for myself. Marcus, please tell everyone where they can find you. Not on Sunday, because you don't know where you're going to be yet, but generally.
Yeah, either wherever I am, you can find me at Thompson Scribe on all platforms. That's pretty easy. I love the simplicity.
What'd you say? Say that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean
to
interrupt.
I love the simplicity of that. I love when I say that. I'm like, you can find me at Thompson Scribe on all platforms. I love that I don't have to spend forever going through this list to pitch myself, because I don't really like it anyway. You're actually the only person I actually answer that question for. So
thanks.
It's simple. I like it.
Well, I'm going to have to go through 2. Tracy FGSN on X, Twitter, and at Tracy Sandler on Instagram and TikTok. I would have loved to have it Tracy Sandler on X, but it was taken. So at Tracy FGSN, it is. We are brought to you by FIVO. We are brought to you by Bet Online. I know you guys really loved this podcast, so please give us a 5-star rating and a super positive review. Happy 49ers Cowboys, and then happy bye week. And also, I would be remiss if I didn't say, go Dodgers. Bye, all.
Aaron Judge.